Spectrum on Radio 1, I'm your host Edmond Kizito. On Spectrum tonight, inside of Parliament, MPs and the President disagree on recalling Parliament. How far has the process gone, and why is the President and his party against it? The latest reports indicate that MPs have managed to gather enough signatures required to recall the House from recess to discuss certain issues that emerged following the death of Buteleja District Woman MP Serena Nebanda. President Museveni and other members of the executive and the ruling NRM party are opposed to this plan. And in turn, the President, who is also chairman of the NRM party, has summoned all NRM MPs to a retreat at the National Leadership Institute in Chankwanzi to coincide with the dates on which the MPs had wanted Parliament to be recalled. The NRM party, through the office of the Chief Whip, has sent text messages and made calls to MPs asking them not to sign the petition seeking to recall the House. The power to recall Parliament from recess is provided for under Article 95, subsection 5 of the Constitution. It states, notwithstanding any other provision of this article, at least one-third of all members of Parliament may, in writing signed by them, request a meeting of Parliament, and the Speaker shall summon Parliament to meet within 21 days after receipt of the request. Constitutional lawyers argue that the above article commands the Speaker to act, or else she will be accused of treason. A precedent was set when she recalled the House from recess to hold the famous oil sector debate. Those opposed to the recalling of the House argue that there is nothing important or urgent to be discussed by the House, and that MPs should be allowed to rest and also consult with their voters. Today, a question was raised about the neutrality of both Speaker Rebecca Kadaga and the Deputy Jacob Olanya. It is claimed that Kadaga publicly trashed the official government post-mortem report about what killed Nebanda, and that Olanya had indicated that he will not chair Parliament even if MPs successfully recall Parliament. Now, many are now wondering who will chair Parliament in case it is recalled. So tonight we seek answers to some of these questions being asked, and also try to understand why the President and the ruling party members are opposed to recalling the House even when the Constitution caters for it. Our guests tonight, Hon David Bahati, Ndorwa West Mp, also Deputy Chairman of the NRM caucus in Parliament. You're most welcome, Hon Bahati.
Thank you very much.
We're also joined by Hon Gerald Karuhanga, Youth Representative in Western Uganda, also member of the MPs group behind the move to recall Parliament. You're most welcome, Hon Gerald Karuhanga.
Thank you, and good evening, listeners.
Hon Bahati, why is the President opposed to the recalling of Parliament?
Thank you very much. First of all, we want to appreciate this opportunity to join in this conversation. As you have said, there are members of Parliament who are collecting signatures to recall the House. And the initial results, rather the initial grounds for recall were surrounding on issues that we think are already being handled by other arms of government, like the police, like judiciary, and also the fact that some of these issues that are being debated and the grounds being advanced sort of have been overtaken by events. The fact that we, all of us agreed, Parliament, Executive, that we should have an inquest into the circumstances that led to the death of our colleague. And we think that the grounds as they were presented before, because you know they might change as you move towards the presentation, we are not sufficient to recall a Parliament from recess, from members of Parliament from pursuing their own activities within their constituencies.
Well, one of the grounds, I pick up ground 6, he says that they are concerned, out of the, that's their petition, they're concerned that the current wave of arrests of MPs can potentially degenerate into mass unrest. We've seen demonstrations in Mbale and demonstrations in Bariomos's constituency. Is that a real fear, or is it in the clouds?
Well, I think the whole situation, what we need to understand that there are mistakes and errors that were made along this process. And I don't think it's a time to really point blame, to fix blame to each other. There were mistakes at parliamentary level, there were mistakes at the executive level, there were mistakes at the police. But at the end of the day, we need to move forward. We need to get out of this and move forward in a peaceful and harmonious way. That is the path that, for me, I prefer, a path of peace rather than a path of confrontation. If we decide to blame each other and confront each other, we are doing it at an expense of making sure that we focus on building our roads, we focus on building our economy, focus on building our education system. That's the cost that we are doing it, and yet these issues are being resolved. For example, this morning I was at Chireka to stand surety for one of our colleagues, Dr. Bitecherezo, who has not been, who were requested by police to give information to the effect that there was a disagreement within the postmortem room, and they needed information to see whether that is true, what is his side. And we went there for 15 minutes. He made a statement. He's now going on with his own usual business. So, and also there's sometimes the attitude of politicizing each and everything sometimes is not necessary for our country. But if there are good reasons that we see, we have not seen the grounds. We just hear some of the grounds that were advanced to our members to sign. We thought the grounds are not sufficient to recall Parliament from recess.
Hon David Karuhanga, what is the substance in this petition?
The substance is very clear. One is that for the first time we see the President and the Executive General threatening the institution of Parliament very clearly in the specific form where Parliament makes a resolution that members of Parliament constitute a committee, fortunately who doubled as medical doctors, to follow up the inquiry of our past friend, Honorable Nebanda. And we see all this being done with the knowledge and actually support of the executive. Not until they get into the theater, after getting the body parts of our past colleague, that's when we begin seeing drama. The members who are involved in this inquiry, in concert with the executive, with the police, because the Inspector General of Police was aware of all these processes, the Minister of Health was aware of all these processes, and when they get these body parts, that's when we begin seeing now issues unfolding. One, they threaten these members to bring back the body parts that they had agreed that they share. Some be taken to South Africa and some are retained by the government officials. That's where now we begin seeing this drama unfolding. Two, we see the doctor who is appointed by Parliament formally. And Parliament, for heaven's sake, is the third arm, is another arm of government.
An independent
arm. Yes, an independent arm.
Yes.
Constitutional, and this doesn't even need any reminding. So, we see him being treated as a criminal for work that he was appointed to do by an institution of government. And then we say, okay, what is this? Later, we think this is about to pass. We go for the burial of our past colleague in Butaleja. Members give their testimonies, people make speeches. The following day, only to realize that members are being hunted and they are chasing them. I woke up personally, I went to Honorable Nsereko's home. I was surprised to find PGB fellows dressed in police uniform.
PGB?
Yes, because I know some of them.
Soldiers.
Yes, I know some of them physically. And you know, at times they even also, they are quite careless because they dress in with their t-shirts inside. You see their military t-shirts. And then they have this police uniform on top, the black uniform. And I even engaged them. I said, you PGB fellows, what are you doing here? And they said, we are here on instructions.
You say soldiers went to arrest?
Yes, they surrounded Honorable
Seriko, dressed in police uniform.
And then that's when I was, because when I was called, so I went there. Then I tried to call the other colleagues. Now I kept in touch with the rest. Then Chris calls me a few hours
Honorable
later. Yeah, Honorable Chris Bariomusi. And he says, I've actually been arrested in Fort Porter. I was heading home. And I'm thinking, what is this? Is there a crime? So have these people have been involved in finding out the truth, become the suspects? Have we now moved away from who actually caused the death of the late Honorable Nebanda to now moving on those who are actually trying to find out what really happened? Now that shocked us. It disturbed us. Because, I mean, if they were doing it on their own, as maybe colleagues of the family or friends of...
that would be different.
That would be...
They are mandated by Parliament.
We have a parliamentary resolution.
They are mandated by the Speaker.
Exactly.
So that it's official. The legislature was doing its work.
So we see a threat, actually. We see Parliament being threatened. Now, that was not enough. The President comes out to make a speech that everybody has said, okay, what is this now? Because members of Parliament idiots or fools or crooks, and we're saying, wait a minute, is that presidential actually? Would I address, as a president, would you want to address members of Parliament or Ugandans, the people who elect you, as idiots? And we say, no, this cannot continue. So that's why we think it is not just important, but it's very urgent. Because we could have waited till February. But we think it is extremely urgent that we iron out this, that the doctrine of separation of powers is respected. That Parliament, it does not exist at the whims and wishes of President Museveni. It is a constitutional established institution. And we are empowered to make laws, to carry out an oversight role, and in this particular case we are carrying out an oversight role to find out what could have happened in this. And on the other hand, it is known to everybody that whenever a family loses a person, they have a right to carry out a post-mortem. And I'm sure so many families...
Any family.
And this is the first time we see a family largely being deterred from carrying out an independent post-mortem.
Even Parliament aside, the family had the right to carry out its
post-mortem. And all this kept raising so many questions in our minds. Why is this being done?
That's your suspicion.
What? Yes, my suspicion is that government has a hand in this. I have no doubt whatsoever. I have not even an iota of doubt. Because every act, right from the moment this lady passed away, in 15 minutes, and this was the speech, I was there in Butaleja. In 15 minutes, when this lady had passed away, the mother was there, and in 15 minutes, the Inspector General of Police was there. And she asked him, because she was also shocked, she asked him, who has told you my daughter has passed away? And she said, it is General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. And when we heard this was the mother's speech now at the burial in Butaleja. Everybody was like, okay, so how does he get involved in this? Then she goes on, she says, later when the president called me, I asked him, what was your son's role in this? And the son, the president says, I'm going to ask Muhoozi. And then later he called back and said, I asked Muhoozi that where he had gotten this information from Karuhanga. Okay, Karuhanga gets the information within 15 minutes and calls him Muhoozi, and then so it all raises so many questions, and everybody keeps wondering, what is this?
However, David Bahati, you talk about peace and way forward. Mistakes have been made, in your own words, even by the executive. We'll talk about the substantive issues later. But first of all, how would you want that to be fomented?
I think the most important thing is that we have all agreed that there is need to
recall Parliament.
No, we have all agreed that there is need to find out the circumstances under which our sister and colleague died. And we made a resolution in Parliament that an inquest be put in place. Cabinet discussed this and agreed to it. The President announced. The Chief Justice has been informed, and we are waiting for him to propose a senior judicial officer to look into these circumstances. I think the best way really is to look for the truth. The best way is to look for the truth. I agree with my friend that we can discuss this issue, have a conversation in Parliament, but you will not find the truth. The truth will be found by people who are investigating this matter. And it's important that when emotions are high, you sit back and become objective and remember that a country is there that needs to move forward. So it's very, very, very important. It's very important.
This is
it is true that the President, in the heat of what was happening, used words probably could have been a bit lighter, but These words were specific and categorical. He said, those who call me murderers are this and this. He could have used different words, but he qualified his statement that those who call me murderers are fools. Those who I don't think you called me murderer.
All right.
I don't think I called me murderer.
Okay.
I could actually show you one of these messages that are being sent by Karuhanga.
We'll go into those.
Yes,
later,
we'll go into this.
So listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio tonight inside of Parliament. MPs and the President disagree on recalling Parliament. How far has the process gone, and why is the President and his party against it? Our guest tonight, Honorable David Bahati, Ndorwa West Mp, also Deputy Chairman of the NRM caucus in Parliament, and Honorable Gerald Karuhanga, Youth Representative Western Uganda, also a member of the MPs group behind the move to recall Parliament. You will be able to call in and contribute to this discussion at some stage. Has the Speaker received this petition, Honorable Karuhanga?
Well, the Speaker hasn't received this petition yet. We wrote her, and we are informing her that we need actually to bring our petition to her and present it to her formally. So we are seeking an appointment, and she actually agreed to members of Parliament present this petition tomorrow at 11 a.m.
You're handing it in tomorrow, so you have the signatures.
We have the signatures, and of course there was some bit of fracas at the prisons today.
What happened there?
Well, our colleagues are going to pick one of the signatures of one of our colleagues who is in custody at Rosira prisons, and when he signed,
yes,
then I think phone calls came through that they should confiscate that list.
It was detained.
Yes, and it was terrible. Up to now,
how many people have signed on that particular form?
The last time I checked with colleagues, they said about 10 signatures. But we've realized that even if they retained that list,
you still have the majority.
We shall still have the needed number.
Honorable Bahati, why is the President calling a caucus meeting at this moment?
Now, the President is not calling a caucus meeting. We are calling for a retreat for NRM members of Parliament. We had a retreat last year in January, and this is a follow-up retreat. This is something that we planned close to 6 months ago. We have only not had time to do this, and it has been in motion.
Right.
And the theme for this retreat is appreciating the budgeting process for better service delivery in our country, and we also focus on reviewing the performance of our manifesto sector by sector. We want to see 1.5 years ago, what have we been able to achieve, what are the hindrances, and where we are going, so that we serve and make sure that we fulfill the manifesto, the promises that we made in 2011. And that will be the focus of this retreat. And we hope that at the end of the retreat, we'll be able to serve Uganda better, we'll be able to know where we stand, what are the hindrances we have in implementing our manifesto, where are we, and where we are going.
Will it not clash with Parliament's schedule? Parliament is likely to be recalled in 3 weeks' time.
This is something that we had planned earlier, and you said it will be Parliament now. This is something we had planned earlier, and we are not going to postpone it.
You're not going to postpone it?
No.
You have an NRM constitution, and the government has, the Parliament has its own constitution. When you weigh that with the NRM constitution,
it's something that we can resolve. We can resolve. As we said, we have no. Personally, I do not have a history of confrontation. Mine is a peaceful path that I try to follow, and that's what we try to do in each and everything.
Honorable Karuhanga, how can a standoff be avoided? Do we have the executive clashing with the legislature potentially? How can this be really avoided, in your view?
Well, the only way we can resolve this is for the executive, particularly President Museveni, to be comfortable and agree that Parliament should sit and discuss without causing any alarm. Because for heaven's sake, when does the President begin to gag members of Parliament? How? For what reason? Because the only reason we're elected is to represent Ugandans. And we can only do that through airing their views and interests. So it's shocking. Actually, I don't even understand it, how the President of Uganda sits and decides to announce that Parliament will meet over his dead body.
Did he actually use that language?
He did. Because I mean,
Parliament will meet over his dead body.
I mean, if he hadn't, by now they should have called the newspaper that published that.
But Parliament is going to meet. You think it's going to meet?
Of course, we shall do everything possible. First of all, I mean, the constitutional provision, Article 95, Clause 5, is very clear. And it says, notwithstanding any other provision in this constitution.
So it puts itself above other issues.
It is very well qualified and well entrenched.
Notwithstanding any other provision of this article, at least 1/3 of all members of Parliament may, in writing signed by them, request a meeting of Parliament, and the Speaker shall summon Parliament to meet within 21 days after receipt of the request.
And the Speaker shall recall Parliament.
Yes.
The Speaker has even no discretion.
Oh, she can't say don't.
No, because it is shall, it is mandatory.
Right.
So all we need is the signatures of the 1/3 of Parliament. Now, you would wonder if there is nothing really to hide, or why would you have a problem with parliamentarians sitting and doing their own role as a president? That's why I would appeal to my friend here, Hon Bahati, to go and talk to your party chairman. Why is he interfering and trying to usurp powers of parliamentary institution? Why?
No, Gerald, look.
The possible process. Honorable Bahati, would you be comfortable, and this is a hypothetical situation, would you be comfortable in this matter being discussed in the normal run of Parliament?
Would we?
Would you be comfortable with this matter being discussed without Parliament being recalled? You wait until February when you're supposed to come back, and the matter is brought up as a priority. Would that bother you?
Our opinion is that given that the inquest is going to be set into motion, I would rather prefer to have the inquest finish its work. They call them a coroner, and then we get the truth of the matter. Because at the end of the day, these issues are being resolved. Members of Parliament who have been requested to go to police, some of them have gone. Honorable Dombo went to police. Honorable Dombo went to police, made a statement, he's out. Vitechers were going to police, made a statement, he's out. Of course, there are some unfortunate things. There are some unfortunate things that we.
Do you think let's say
situation? Is it normal for 7 MPs to be arrested?
What do you think it's normal to call Parliament and say police stop doing the work?
No. By the way, that is the other thing. If you have read our petition, which I doubt whether you've actually...
No, I would say the initial grounds, because we have not seen the grounds anyway.
Well, I have a copy of that petition.
Yeah.
I don't know. You have it?
I have a copy here.
Yes.
Now,
yeah, they have just been moving with the signature without even telling people what they want to discuss about.
There is a petition there.
And this
the one that you have not signed, then you can't actually have the opportunity to access even the petition, because you are not even interested. They are just discouraging everyone.
Let's get something clear. Honorable Bahati.
Let's not go that far.
Honorable Bahati, the Speaker of Parliament, acting institutionally, sanctioned these MPs to go and carry out a post-mortem to follow up this matter. Why would the executive get involved in that? Is that not really getting into the work of the Parliament?
We have listened to different versions of this issue, and as I said at the beginning, I would rather we wait for a process that will tell us the truth about this matter, and we move forward. I would rather wait for the inquest to tell us what exactly happened, the circumstances under which our sister died, rather than involving in these debates that probably will not even really yield substantial progress.
And you're convinced that this inquest will yield positive results? I
have no doubt of in the name of the Chief Justice appointing a person that can bring us results.
This is Spectrum on Radio, and we'll go for a break. We'll be back to stay tuned.
Discover the new invigorating taste of Red Vodka Lemon. Red Vodka Lemon. Reinvent the night. Not for sale to persons under 18.
Welcome to the MTN Service Center, sir.
Hey.
How can I help you?
We are here to buy MTN SIM cards.
Okay.
Meet my wife and my daughter and my son. This is my father, my mother and my cousin Sylvia.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Hey, I need even for my aunt piece. Hey, come close, aunt piece. Behind her is my mechanic and my newspaper vendor and my boss and the pastor.
Okay, sir.
This Christmas, buy an MTN SIM card to win free airtime for a year. Dial *188# to win. 250 winners will immediately be notified on SMS each day. Win free airtime for a year with MTN this Christmas. Terms and conditions apply.
And of course there is my brother, my electrician, my bramba, and my baba's best friend's girlfriend.
MTN. Everywhere you go.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight inside of Parliament. MPs and the President disagree on recalling Parliament. How far has the process gone and why is the President and his party against it? Our guests, Hon David Bahati, Ndorwa West Mp, also Deputy Chairman of the NRM caucus in Parliament, Hon Gerald Karuhanga, Youth Representative Western Uganda, also a member of the MP's group behind the move to recall Parliament. You will be able to call in and contribute to this discussion. Hon Bahati, are the Speaker and Deputy Speaker taking sides? What are the Deputy Speaker saying he'll not chair it if it is recalled?
Well, I think what we can say about that is really those are speculations. The details of that meeting, it was a private meeting, and we have not got any communication, official communication from it.
You
And
were
I
in that
think they are
meeting.
just
Why don't you tell us
speculation.
what actually transpired?
Did you attend that meeting?
Yes, I did, but
Tell us, tell us what happened at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end, in detail.
the discussions.
They were privileged?
Anyway, I can tell you if you're not comfortable, because this is public knowledge now.
Yes.
Well, the Deputy Speaker said that he would not chair any session of Parliament for a recall, even if there were 300 signatures. And of course, I know they were there.
Even if there were 300 signatures.
Yeah,
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, if there are 300 signatures.
Yes.
I know that, of course, some members who were in that meeting took him on and said, look, then you'd rather even join the executive, and I think that's what he should. If he cannot be a Speaker of Parliament, I don't see what he is doing in that office of the Deputy Speaker.
But Gerald, what does your conscience tell you if you really address the whole public and you are telling them things that you don't know about?
Why do you
What do you think?
This has been reported. The President has come out to deny.
I think
Ugandans have read it in the media. It's not news.
I mean, if media just writes anything.
Well, but you can give a chance to tell us what happened.
No, I think we really have got to respect each other. We have also to respect ourselves if you demand respect from others.
No, but are you saying that actually the Deputy Speaker Olanya said he would never chair that session even if they raised 300 signatures? Are you saying that he never said it?
Maybe you got it from your sources.
No,
Did he say it or did he not say it?
we need to be
You attended that
honest.
meeting.
I mean,
Did he make such a
you
statement?
may not say it here, but that's because even when it was written, there's nobody has come out to deny. Not even the President's office,
you
not even
are a youth representative.
yeah.
Be cautious on making sure that you don't plant seeds of confusion. Because the more you plant seeds of confusion,
Yes.
you will harvest it.
What do you mean?
At the future date.
Go on, sir.
At the future date, you will harvest it.
Go on.
You see, you are at liberty. God has given an opportunity to be a people's representative. You can use this platform to develop your country, or you can use this platform to plant seeds of hatred, of confusion. You will have to reap out of that confusion that
You
you are
see,
planting.
it's very good you can make a good pastor, but I have so many
anyway, the point we are making
priests
here,
and church leaders I listen to.
Yes.
the point we are making, that we made a resolution.
Yes.
That let there be an inquest for us to be sure of what happened. Cabinet agreed to this. The President announced it. Let us really.
But
the way
this is not the inquest.
They wait for
The point is not really the inquest.
Yeah, but now
Parliament is not coming to discuss the inquest. They are discussing issues around
the point is, if all these issues have been referred to the inquest, then what will you be debating?
The inquest has specific objectives to investigate the death. The coroner is investigating. They want to look at the Parliament, the procedures of Parliament, the MP's arrest.
The procedures of
Parliament, the arrest and so on and so forth. They won't look into that, would they? Honorable Karuhanga, did the Speaker act outside of his mandate when he sent representatives to that post-mortem room?
No, actually, on that particular aspect, nobody should really point to the Speaker. No, you should point to Parliament, because there is a parliamentary resolution, actually. It wasn't her alone who said that Honorable Chris Waliomus, Honorable Moki, and Honorable Betekerezo follow up this whole inquiry. It was a resolution of Parliament. It is on the Hansard, so it's not something that
was the parliamentary commissioners.
And by the way, Parliament agreed on this in unison. There were no diverging views on this. And even the ruling party, because they have the numbers, if they had wanted, they would have opposed that. And that would never have taken place. So, what we see actually is people playing double standards here. At times you think you are working objectively together. And then you reach a point and you're like, okay, wait a minute. Where are we going? Are we still together?
What do you mean double? You had a lot of NRM MPs signing that petition.
Yes, that's very true. And that's again the other thing. It's not particular. I don't mean per se NRM as
all of them.
As you know, they are good people in NRM, certainly, who are very objective and who love this country, who want the democratic progress of this country to be built on day by day. But what did we see here? My colleague here is talking about an inquest as opposed even to the recall of Parliament. The inquest is going to deal with what actually caused the death of our colleague,
it
the
is
Honorable.
Specific.
Yes, specific.
Yes.
Now, why we want largely the recall of Parliament? We want to deal with the threats, the undermining of the institution of Parliament.
Yes.
By the executive and specifically by the President. That's what we want to deal with, and that's what they are not. That's what they are not comfortable with.
Explain to us in more detail. How has the President undermined Parliament? Some people might not have got it really.
Well, the President was heard clearly addressing a press conference, a very huge press conference, calling members of Parliament idiots, fools, crooks. And but this is not the first time. I remember listening to him very well in his State of the Nation address. That's the other first one at Serena, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. He used largely the same language. I felt so insulted that I almost actually walked out. Because I was like, okay, why should I listen to you? If you think that we are crooks, we are bayai. I remember that time you used the word bayai.
Of legislators.
Yes. And I said, look, there is no way we can just sit on this. And this is a time bomb. You are here trying to romanticize with lots of preaching. That's very good. But I want to remind you, my brother, that what we are sitting on here, and time will tell, that 5-10 years from now, we will look back and say, we could have done better. That we could have dealt with some of these questions in a harmonious way, because where we are heading to, we are not going to be immune to what happened in Libya.
Well,
or Egypt,
Bahati, was the Speaker being pretentious in questioning the government's post-mortem report?
Where?
The Speaker, she said she doubts it. She doesn't believe the lady died of drugs. She said, the lady did not drink alcohol. Was she being pretentious?
Well, as I said, I'm really moving away from that. I'm moving away from discussing comments by different people, different fora on this matter. I would rather concentrate on having an inquest that establishes the truth. Because at the end of the day, you can blame, you can talk this, you can say this, but we need to be objective and say, what do we want out of this?
Well, but the President said, you can't discount what the President says and does. The President said there are investigations, apparently, to establish whether the Speaker could have backdated a letter. She gave instructions to the clerk to write to Dr. Nzifwa. There were allegations that the President directed that they investigate whether that had been backdated. Those are details.
Yes, all those are issues that are being considered, and I think it's important that we pass over information to the public that is well searched and well articulated, so that we don't put the public in another confusion.
Was she not being pretentious? She would have as well said.
What you asked Gerald is that out of this debate that they want us to have in, what do you want to see? What will the people of Uganda say?
We'll talk about that in a short while.
You called Parliament and you want to, because the President made statements of this nature, and you want to call Parliament to debate it, what would people of Uganda expect to see?
We'll talk about that in a short while, but Honorable Karuhanga, was she being pretentious when she says she doesn't accept the government report?
No.
Some people would say she drew the first lines.
Well, one, I think she has a right as a Ugandan, first of all, but if she suspects any government report, like in this case, which I believe majority Ugandans do, she had the right to make her opinion known. But two, that her as a Speaker of Parliament, who had lost her own colleague, found herself at a burial ceremony with a government report that was criminalizing members of Parliament. The doctor was appointed by Parliament to carry out an inquiry, as opposed to promising to actually deal with whoever could have caused this death. So she had every reason. Under the suspicious circumstances that have been surrounding all this, I think she was very right to seek that there should be an inquest. And she's one. And why don't you wait for that inquest? Well, yes, and we want it. When the inquest is done, we want it to go on. But what we want to deal with in the recall, we don't want the institution of Parliament to be undermined. That when we were members of Parliament in the 9th Parliament, we sat back as we saw the executive abuse Parliament.
What do you envisage coming out of that? What kind of resolutions do you expect, Honorable Karuhanga, out of that special sitting?
That the President and the executive must desist from interfering with the operations of Parliament. That is, and we want to be very, very clear on that one, because there is no way you can have a democratic, progressive country when you undermine the other arms of government. Several times he has abused the judges, the other arm of government, for some time, and now he chose to go for Parliament. So, is it a one-man's show? Should Ugandans settle for a kiosk-run government where the person who opens the shop is the one who does the mandazi, and is the one who designs the way they appear, the appearance, and sells them, and does the accounts, does everything? No. This is a country that must be run on a constitutional
framework. The country also has a chief executive.
Very much so.
The buck stops at his desk in the end.
Well, not all the entire back, by the way.
Go on.
That's why the laws. The other resolution that we want to be very, very categorically stated and respected by the executive is that if Parliament makes resolutions, let them be legislative in nature or oversight.
Yes.
For us to progress as a democracy, they should be respected.
You mean you've made resolutions that have not been respected?
Yes.
Which ones are those?
The first one, we saw several of them actually. During the oil debate, if you recall, in 2011, October,
yes,
we had several resolutions. And the executive, well, we had 10 of them, and I think they respected probably about 2 or 3. And the other 7, the other day we had, remember the oil bill?
Yes.
Clause 9 became Clause 9. We agreed, and Parliament was seated. And actually,
the executive has a right to lobby. It's
very much so.
Yes,
and he knows. He knows this very well.
Go on.
He knows that for us to live harmoniously, there is no way elected officials of government, in this case members of Parliament, can be undermined by the President, and these fellows condone it. It's not acceptable. Because what does that breed? That's the most important thing actually we need to deal with.
Condone what?
Condone the undermining of the parliamentary institution by the President.
No, when you say undermining, what exactly do you mean? No one supports
I have
by the way,
exactly. Condoning, I mean,
undermining.
Yes, undermining and threatening the institution of Parliament. I have put it earlier that the language that the President uses against Parliament and the members is extremely unacceptable. You can't, there is no way you can call members idiots, members of Parliament. Not even an ordinary Ugandan.
He said only those who think he's hard-handed.
I mean, whichever, I mean, you can choose to use also as many qualifications as you want, but what you've said it anyway. There is no way you can threaten the Speaker of Parliament. If the speaker, if
But the president has appeared before committees of parliament himself.
yes, but she has not appeared before
actually-
police. And by the way, if she was suspected,
Karuhanga
Yes,
is one
if
of-
she was
She was
suspected,
suspected.
the police would procedurally
Yes.
move to her office or make an appointment with her or someone even her to the police station, and she would do a write-up.
She makes
She makes a statement. She would write whatever. She would make her statement.
All right.
Now we'll see the president here more or less, because many times what the president says is a directive saying that the police should go and interrogate the Speaker of Parliament. And we're saying, wait a minute, what was she doing? Was she doing it as Miss Rebecca Kadaga, or she was doing it as a Speaker of Parliament?
Let's hear from you, the listeners. This is Spectrum on radio, and you can call in now. Our numbers 0414-348-111, 031-226-0390, 031-226-1390. When you call in, please tell us your name and where you're calling from. Spectrum, hello? Yes?
Good evening.
Good evening, your name?
Radio, right?
Yes, please.
Yes, my name is Edmond. I've left Gerald Karuhanga, Honorable, and Bahati, of course. But if I can remember well, nobody has said so and so has killed. But the public is saying, we will know who caused the death of Uganda. Number two, President Yoweri Museveni has never been a parliamentarian. I still don't know why he's so much concerned that parliamentarians are going to see. Thank you very much.
Spectrum, hello? Hello?
Good evening.
Good evening, your name?
My name is Dickens.
Yes, Dickens.
Good evening, Honorable.
Good evening.
Gerald Karuhanga, I'm sure you know very well that the work of the prosecuting it is an legislative work. You have members of parliament emphasizing the doctrine of separation of power. The Inspector General and his team are appointed by the executive. But now you have to use your parliamentary immunity to come and interfere with the work of the police. Because that is interference of parliament in the executive work.
Spectrum, hello?
Hello?
Yes, your name?
My name?
Your name?
Ellis.
Ellis, yes?
I Gerald Karuhanga, Honorable, with due respect. Talking about, in fact, a man who went on national television and called the president of this country in Nigeria a fly, which goes around saying, if someone calls you a murderer and you respond and call him an idiot, have you really insulted him?
Spectrum, hello? Yes, your name?
Yes, it was.
Good evening, your name?
I want to speak with the Honorable MP. I want to disagree with Honorable Karuhanga. I think we respect the three arms of government, that's the parliament, but if Madam Speaker dismissed the report from the police, then as they've done, I have to explain. Thank you.
Spectrum, hello?
Hello, good evening, Edmond.
Good evening, your name?
I'm Emmanuel going from Qatar.
Yes, Emmanuel.
Now, I want to know from the Honorable, is the recall of Parliament in a good faith or in a bad faith? That's number one.
Oh, we missed that point. You can still call back in, Emmanuel. We'd like to hear the fullness of your point. Yes, your name?
Hello?
Yes, hello?
This is Samuel.
Samuel, yes?
Yes. I want to go to Karuhanga. If you go to someone with killer and call your nation, all of them are pointing at someone. You are going to build the killer and you say the culture nation. Secondly, can power become power to get even a matter? Thirdly, the government cannot respect and constitutional resolution like it comes to your police from investigating you.
Spectrum, hello?
Good evening.
Good evening, your name?
James Kashaya.
Yes, Mr. Kashiri.
You know, Edmond, I want to thank you for that program. You see, what is irritating my mind? Lawmakers in this country are becoming lawbreakers. It's also because they are so ignorant that they cannot interpret the Constitution. If you look at the functions of the police, the function of Parliament, they are free you think the parliament has the power to investigate any criminal case? Because if it doesn't, why do members of parliament ignorantly exposing the ignorance? Why are we having the members of parliament who are publicly, they are morons in degenerating?
Spectrum, hello? Hello? Okay, Spectrum, hello. Yes, your name?
Yeah, good evening. My name is William Cesar.
Yes, William.
I think both parties, the parliament and the executive, are missing a mission. Because what I can see is that we, the wananchi, have been made now to become judges and prosecutors. It's more now like a theater. I think I'd learned people as people with much respect, especially we, the wananchi, we should have a better, those people should have a better approach in the way the issue is being handled. Otherwise, we're heading into a very distant situation if this is not put into order. The parts need to come down from the members of parliament who have been abused. The executive, led by the president, has to say yes, sorry, maybe the hardest one, but I think it's timely now. Otherwise, the direction we're heading into is very, very bad for this country.
All right, let's get back to the studio. Honorable Bahati, should the president apologize tomorrow?
But first of all, you see the kind. I want to thank everybody who has called, and I think Karuhanga.
I think you are mobilizing.
I didn't know. Actually, I was coming here until 15 minutes. People know what is happening. You, Gerald, the words that you have used, they are put on carpet. About. I can read a message here, if you accept.
What do they say? The message.
These are people who are mobilizing for. It says, we must help the presidency to stop shielding rogue elements in government. As if thieves and saboteurs are not enough, he now has to contend with murderers. Kind of message from members of parliament. Well, it must be seen, and also we must respect one another. Yes, we can collect signatures and recall parliament, but so to recall parliament that the president made comments, so we want to resolve that the president should resist from using that language. People from recess that want to look at the roles of parliament, which we already know.
Yes, Honorable Karuhanga.
Yeah, well, my brother seems to have really made a very good mobilization before he came here for the callers, but they have very interesting questions. Interfering with police. Honestly, there is nobody who does not want police to do their work. Police do their work, we have no problem. Let them assist the Chief Justice in the inquest, and we want that done. So, Parliament, what we are talking about here is the respect of the three arms of government, and that does not in any way stop police from doing its work. Calling the president names, I've never called the president a fly, and I would be the last person to do so. I have only.
What did you call? What
you have said so many things.
I have to be very. I am blessed, and I recall everything I said because I know I take the law very, very seriously. But the point is important. What is important? Yes, sorry. The point I recall it very well. I recall it very well. If you want to yes, I recall it very well, and. Well, I have referred some of our leaders that they behave like one of these insects that goes around making some funny noise that and in our culture it goes saying that everything is mine, everything is mine. That's what I remember referring to. But well, those are our leaders anyway we have today. We hope they will change. Now, dismissing police report and therefore, yeah, well, if the speaker dismissed the police report, so does anyone have a right? I don't see anything wrong with the speaker dismissing the police report, especially when it is highly suspicious. And well, eventually the executive has also agreed that indeed there is need for an inquest.
Yes.
Yeah, even after the police report. So I think that she was right, and the executive has eventually agreed with her that they should carry out an inquest. Killer, as we call him a killer, then he calls us idiots. I don't think there is anybody who has come out to call President Museveni a killer.
Oh, my friend, yes.
Yes.
I think.
No, tell me one member of parliament.
No.
I want you to say one member of parliament.
I wish we had known that. Even here, the message I've read is similar to that. I wish we had known we would have come with the recordings of parliament, recordings of what has been happening in all these venues. I think
people have always said that we are suspicious of this murder, and we want to know the truth. Why people actually are suspicious of the executive is the way they are handling the entire inquiry. They are failing the inquiry. That's the problem. And so, you don't mean
I come from the background that says if I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. I don't want to come and say that nobody has really used the tough words in this process against the president. I think that would be very...
that's for you as an individual, but you represent the party.
Now, the other one was, of course, moral degeneration, and then...
Well, but can Parliament investigate criminal cases? We know you have the power of the High Court, but can you investigate criminal cases?
Actually, that is largely for the other institutions. However, I know that in our laws, for instance, Parliament is empowered to appoint a private prosecutor. I know that very well. It is in a number of leadership codes that have been elected by Parliament. Even this very constitution, if you look particularly at the Article 79, and if I may just read for you particular clause 1, subject to the provisions of this constitution, Parliament shall have power to make laws on any matter for the peace, order, development, and good governance of Uganda. There is one thing we've been missing. Why we are so tough on wanting Parliament to be protected and the other arms of government.
Yes.
You see, Article 79, Clause 3 provides that Parliament shall protect this constitution and promote the democratic governance of Uganda. Now, it is the duty of Parliament to protect this constitution.
Yes.
Now, when we find ourselves in a situation where we see the legal framework of this country is under threat, particularly the very institution that makes the laws, then we have reason to come out strongly. And I would want to imagine, because if my colleague Hon Bahati was probably, let's say, a pastor, like I think he is at times, and only that, then probably would say, but you're a member of Parliament, so you must be seen, you must not only actually do, but you must also be seen to protect this institution of Parliament. Why would you want Parliament to be undermined? The very Parliament you belong to.
Separation of powers.
Yes.
But our independence also should not interfere with the independence of others.
All right,
you should not interfere. The police has clear rules of what should be doing and all that. Parliament has its own. We can work harmoniously.
We need an apology from the president.
We can work harmoniously.
You cannot.
What do you think should happen to the 7 MPs who have been arraigned? What do you think should happen to those cases, 7 of them?
I think police has got to look at each case and make a judgment. I was with the Honorable Techerezo this morning. He has made a brief statement.
Did you send the
surety for him?
Did you see any criminal